Okay, good evening to another evening of Dine Learn. Today's date is July 25th, 2016. Shkach Tamaish, as always, for organizing it, and to the Newhouse family for sponsoring tonight's Dine and Learn. We're continuing in Hilchos Yesodei Torah Perek Zayin. We're still on Halacha Aleph. Hopefully, Mr. Shem will get through it soon. But I'd like to tonight take a peek into what were they learning in the Rambam's Beis Medrash in his yeshiva. Nowadays in yeshiva, what is it, 6th grade, 7th grade, they start Gemara, and pretty soon it's Gemara all the time. Even when they learn Chumash, they really learn Gemara. Even when they learn Navi, they learn Gemara. So what did the Rambam teach? So we'll get to that in Yirtzeh Hashem quickly, and maybe we'll also discuss a little bit what women learned. They were probably not in the Rambam's yeshiva, but what was his opinion on that? So we're about 1, 2, 3, 4. We're exactly 5 lines down. Adam shehu memula bechol hamidos ha'elu. Anyone who is full of all these attributes, right? He's a chacham, he's a gibor on his midos, he's a sameach, he's ashir sameach bechelko. Has all the right attributes. Shalom begufo. He is strong, physically strong, so he can withstand the Nevuah. Ksheyikanes the pardes. When he enters pardes. Let's stop here. What does it mean, enter pardes? So we're all familiar, more or less, with the Gemara in Chagiga. Arba'a nechnesu la pardes. 4 people entered pardes. So the Aruch, the very early translation, Rabbi Nathan from Rome, he has 2 opinions, 2 different parts about what this means. One is that the 4 of them literally entered pardes. Pardes is an orchard, but it's a spiritual orchard, Gan Eden. They all 4 of them went to Gan Eden, and there were different results. Who was it? It was Ben Azai, Ben Zoma, Acher, and Rabbi Akiva. One of them died. The other was injured. Acher says he uprooted the roots, meaning he went off the derech. And Rabbi Akiva, he came out even stronger. So one opinion is they went up to Gan Eden. The other opinion is that they studied mystical ideas. And that's really where the Rambam heads with that. There are 2 ways you could go. One is Al Pi Kabbalah. They learned Kabbalah. The Rambam was not a Makubal. He was more of a philosopher, but even the Rambam would say that they learned what goes on in the heavenly realms. Meiser Merkava.
Why are those mutually exclusive? I believe the Gemara else in Chagiga goes on to talk about how on several occasions they sat down by a tree, which I always took to be representative of the whole paradise concept. And rings of fire came out around them as they studied Kabbalah.
So you're saying that it's both literal and non-literal. They literally went up to Gan Eden, and there they learned Kabbalah.
I don't know if they literally went up anywhere.
Right, so that would be the second approach, that they studied all these spiritual matters.
But the way I've always understood it is it's some sort of a meditational experience. It involves saying certain, Shemus HaKadosh, it involves studying Kabbalah. They were somewhere, but they were still here. So
mysticism and Kabbalah aren't the same thing. Rambam's son, Rav Avram, was very into meditation, but he was not a Makubal. So it's not mutually exclusive, but it's not necessarily overlap either.
Meditation either. I simply mean that they sat down, they were studying it, and they had some sort of...
It was a religious experience.
They were still there.
It was a religious experience.
Here.
So that's the second opinion, that they studied these matters and it transformed them. One person died from the experience, one person couldn't handle it and got injured, one person went off the derech, and one person came out stronger. I think that's what you're saying. If it just means that they went to a college class, that's clearly not what happened.
Not at all.
It's clearly not. It was more. It was an experience.
It was obviously a very deep experience.
A transformative experience.
It says that they were surrounded by rings of fire and when they were going through this. But I believe that there was some sort of way of tapping into this. In other words, you had to sit down, you had to clear your mind, whatever it was, say certain Shemus HaKadosh, study certain things, whatever it was, and then you had this experience.
Okay. So exactly what this experience was and what they studied and how they related to it, there's a Kabbalah approach, and then there's a philosophy approach, what the Rambam says. And the end of the first 4 prakim of Hilchos Yesodei Torah is talking about the Malachim, the Ofanim, and the Chayos HaKodesh, right? That's Nusach Sfar, right? At the end of Perek Daled of Hilchos Yesodei Torah, the Rambam says it specifically. Perek Daled Halach Yud Gimel. Vinyane Arbaim Prakim Ela And these 4 prakim that he just taught you, Shebechamesh mitzvot ha'elu hem shechachamim harishonim korin also pardes. This is what the chachamim called pardes, knowing about what goes on in the heavenly sphere. Even though there were Gedolei Yisrael who were great Talmidei Chachamim, lo kulam haya behen koach leida. Not all of them had the ability to know this. Ulahasi kol advarim al boryam, and to fully understand them. And we see that with Ben Azai and Acher, and not all of them. Only Rabbi Kiva out of the 4 could survive. Vani Omer, and Rambam continues. Shein royu latayel bepardes. You're only supposed to learn these things. These first prakim of Hilchos Yesodei Torah or Kabbalah, you're only supposed to learn it. Elamish and ismale kreso lechem ubasar. Someone who fills his stomach with bread and meat. Doesn't mean you had a hamburger, bread and meat. You had everything. No, it means you learn Gemara, Shas and Poskim. So once you become a great Talmid Chacham, you learn Shas and Poskim, then you should be learning either the first 4 prakim of Hilchos Yesodei Torah, or you should be learning Kabbalah. So he goes on. It means knowing what's also what's mutter. Halacha. You have to know all 613 mitzvos. Once you master them, then you move on to the next stage.
So if somebody like Acher, who was a Talmud of Rameir, right, couldn't handle...
he was
even
he was Rameir's teacher. Yes.
Right.
If he couldn't handle it, then why are even our top people of this generation bothering to try to learn Kabbalah?
Gosh, I wrote an article in Jewish Echo on this subject.
I still don't understand why you compare Kabbalah to Meiser Merkava.
Not I. They say it. That's what they say. Kabbalah is Meiser Merkava, knowing what goes on in the heavenly spheres. V'afa pi shedvarim elu davar katan. So even though learning what's mutter, all the mitzvos, Gemara, Mishnah, Gemara. So the Gemara itself calls it davar katan. Havayus dabayir v'rava. This is the Gemara in Sukkah daf chavches. They say Rabbi Yochanan knew everything, including davar katan and davar gadol. The Gemara says, what's davar katan? The arguments between Abaye and Rava. The Gemara, the shakla v'tari, the back and forth in the Gemara. That's the davar katan. What's davar gadol? Meiser Merkava, the first 4 prakim of Hilchos Yesodei Torah. So the Gemara called it davar katan. First, you have to learn davar katan, then you learn davar gadol. Everything in life has to be progression. First, you start out, you take the first steps. First, you learn to crawl, then you learn to walk, then you run. Shehen miyashvin daito shel adam tchila. They set you straight. Set you straight. Put you on the right track of understanding, of having the right theories, the right approaches, the right knowledge. And unless you have the right approach first, when you start learning Kabbalah or whatever it is, philosophy, it's dangerous. V'od, shem hatova hagedola. Not only that, the mitzvahs, Gemara, that the great tova, the great benefit, sheshpia kodesh baruch hu liyishuv ha'olam, that Hashem gave to this world in order for civilization to exist. Liyishuv ha'olam hazeh, kedei linchol chaye ha'olam haba, in order for us to achieve olam haba, is a mitzvah. So of course you should learn Gemara, because otherwise how are you going to get to Olam Haba? If you just start out learning Kabbalah, learning philosophy, how are you going to get to Olam Haba if you don't keep the mitzvahs? Key phrase now. The efshar sheyeda'en hakol. Anyone can know this Gemara, mitzvahs, Abaye v'Rava. Katan ve'gadol, an adult, a child, an adult. Ish ve'isha, a man or a woman. Ba'al leiv rachav, whoever has a broad understanding, u'ba'al leiv katzar, even if they have a small understanding, they're not so smart. Whether you're smart or not, anyone can know Gemara. What? It's hard. Gemara's hard. We know that. Baba Basra, Baba Messiah, Kiddush, and Gittin Yavamas. Not everyone can do Daf Yomi. Everyone can sit in a Daf Yomi shir, but not everyone can learn Daf Yomi. Here in the shul, we learn Daf Yomi. But other people,
Daf Yomi is easy. Learning Gemara is hard.
Okay, that's from our Daf Yomi team here, teasing themselves. But we all know that they learn it. Stark. It's not so easy. What's the Rambam talking about? Women can learn Gemara. Okay, so that's interesting because the Rambam elsewhere says it's not like that. In Hilchos Talmud Torah, the very end of Perek Aleph, Isha Shalom da Torah Yesh la Schar. she gets merit. She's not obligated to learn Torah, but if she does learn Torah, she gets schar. Why shouldn't she get rewarded for doing a mitzvah? However, she's not commanded, so someone who's commanded gets more schar for fulfilling a Kodesh Baruch Hu's command than someone who's not. It's a basic concept in Torah. If Hashem commands you to do something, you do it, you get reward. Women were not commanded to learn Torah, so they did a good mitzvah, it's a good deed, they get a reward, but not like someone who's commanded. Only because, not because women are less, but because they're not commanded. So, if you're not commanded to do it, your reward is not as much as someone who's commanded. Even though a woman who learns Torah gets schar, tzivu chachamim, the chachamim commanded, shelo yelamed adam es bito Torah. A man should not teach his daughter Torah. Most women do not have the proper mindset to learn Gemara. The truth is today, not every man has the proper mindset. Even in times of the Gemara, they said that. You have to be a Talmud Hagun. You have to be appropriate to get into yeshiva, to Beis Medrash. Nowadays, Baruch Hashem, we have universal yeshiva, but it's not necessarily what the Gemara intended. Elahid Motzios divrei Torah le divrei Havai, but they'll take the words of Torah and they'll use it, they'll misread it, they'll mistranslate it, they'll misexplain it. L'fi aniyas daited, based on their own understanding, their own personal comprehension. Well, Rashi says this, Tosafos says this. They'll say, but you know what? I have a different shot in the Gemara, and you know we see that today with not just women but men also. I know Gemara. Don't tell me what the Rambam says. I got shot. So that's why Amru Chachamim Kol Melamed is Bito Torah. Any man who teaches his daughter Torah, Ki'ilu Limda Tiflis, it's as if he taught her nonsense, because there's a risk that she might make their own shot against the post-game, and that's what she'll think and teach what Torah is. So adds the Rambam Medur Mamorim B'Torah Shebal Peh, the Gemara, the Mishnah. Aval Torah Sheksav. No, but Torah Sheksav is different. Lo Yilamed also lechatchila. You shouldn't teach her V'im Limda. But if you did teach her, Eino Kemelam de Tiflis. So nowadays we know the Chofetz Chaim and others helped establish the Beis Yaakov movement, because without a good Jewish education, people just go off the derech. You can't just grow up in a shtetl and automatically become from. That's just not the reality today. So we do teach our daughters Torah. We do teach them Torah Shebitzav. We teach them some sort of Torah Shebal Peh. It varies by community, so we're very careful not to teach them Rashi even on Chumash. We teach Rashi and Chumash, and different schools have different approaches to it. Okay, but the Rambam does not seem to say, like you said in Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah, anyone can know Gemara. A child, an adult, a man or a woman. So what's pshat? So I didn't see anyone really come up with this question, but so I'll give you my own answer. Take it for what it's worth. At the end of the Rambam's introduction to the Mishnah Torah, he says something startling about what his intention was. He goes through the entire Masorah from Moshe Rabbeinu till his time, to the Geonim, past the Geonim, to the Rimigash, his father Reb Maimon. So then the Rambam says that he wrote this Mishnah Torah. Mishnah Torah is a radical idea. No one had done it before. People had done a little halacha hilchos shtaros. I think Nissim Gaon had a hilchos shtaros. We went through the halachas shtaros. The Rambam did hilchos everything. Everything. So the Rambam says, the Fichach Harasi Shem Chibur Zeh Mishnah Torah. I called it Mishnah Torah, which means a repetition of the Torah. Lefishi Adam Kori B'Torah Shebiksav. You learn Tanakh. Of course, we all learn Tanakh, beginning to end. That's how you start out. Tchila first. V'achar kach Kori Bazeh. Then you read this sefer. V'yodea Mimena Torah Shebal Peh Kula. And you know all the Torah Shebal Peh. This is true. By the way, this is true. When I was in yeshiva, when I was in Beis Medrash, so I used to have a weekly high school chavrusa. I would pick out guys in the high school and say, come to the Beis Medrash, see what it's like at night to learn the Beis Medrash. Only half an hour. We won't do anything hard. We'll only do easy stuff. And I learned with the Mishnah Torah. It's beautiful. You could do one parak in maybe half an hour. And you do enough. You cover all the shas. It's very easy to read. You need a little Hebrew, so have a little Hebrew English dictionary with you on the side. Boom. The Lubavitchers, they've instituted a daily Rambam. You learn one parak, one halacha, something like that a day. And after a few years, they finish the whole cycle. And those who are very into it, they do 3 a day. And they finish it even quicker. And that way you have yediyos, you have knowledge in all the shas. Gewaltige thing. The Rambam says all you need to do to know Torah Shebal Peh is learn the Mishnah Torah. V'yodeh mimena Torah Shebal Peh kula. You know the entire Torah Shebal Peh. Ve'eno tzarich likro sefer acher b'neim. You don't need to open another sefer. Never again. You don't need a whole shelf of Mishnayos and Tosefta and the Gemara and the Yerushalmi. All you need is Mishnah Torah. Wow. All you can say is wow. Because he did not succeed. Almost immediately after he published Mishnah Torah, he thought this has everything in it. So the Rava disagreed. We see it in ours. The Geonim in Bavel disagreed with some of the Psukim. In France they disagreed. And then after it came the Ramban and the Rashba. And then you had in France, you had the Rashi, Rabbeinu Tam, the Ri, and all the Balei Tosfos. At the bottom of the Mishnah Torah, you see there's Hagos Maimonios. This is written by the Balei Tosfos. They asked one of the Balei Tosfos, one of the later Balei Tosfos, just put on the bottom all the things that we taught, because we disagree with the Rambam so much. So he put on the bottom. If you look at Hagos Maimonios, that'll give you the halachas of the Balei Tosfos. The Rambam didn't succeed, but he expected to. He thought he wrote the final sefer. After that, nothing left.
You really think that he didn't expect that? Maybe he was just talking to his community.
I don't know. He says it. And then later, in a letter to one of his Talmidim, Rabbi Yosef, he says, don't learn Gemara. Just learn Mishnah Torah. You get it all. So maybe what he's saying is that, okay, anybody, if you have a Hebrew or English dictionary, anybody, kid, child, or adult, man or woman, can learn Mishnah Torah. That's easy. But to learn Gemara, to learn the back and forth, that's hard, and that you shouldn't teach your daughters. And unless you're obligated to learn Torah, and then you have to learn Shas, you shouldn't, because it's too hard. It's too hard. It's complicated, and you'll get lost. But if you're just going to learn Mishnah Torah, I'm suggesting maybe. I'm not saying you should go and learn with your daughters Mishnah Torah. I'm not saying you shouldn't learn with your daughters Mishnah Torah. I think maybe that's what the Rambam meant in Hilchos Yesodei Torah when he said anybody can understand Torah Shabbat Peh, because he was kind enough to make it so easy.
So essentially you're saying you can shortcut to Nevuah from Mishnah Torah?
Maybe. If you learn Mishnah Torah, you'll know all the Shas, including Zraim, including Kachim, all the stuff that we don't really know so well. And then you'll start learning Kabbalah, or you learn philosophy. However, it's not so simple. Shlomo, as you said. So there's a letter later in his life that he wrote to his Talmud, Reb Pinchas Hadayan. And I don't know if he changed his mind, or he meant to say some Talmidim, some students should just learn Mishnah Torah, and some should not. But he tells us what he learned in his Beis Medrash. Khilah, Shanichas v'shalom lo amarti. I never chas v'shalom. I didn't say lo tisasku lo b'Gemara. Don't learn Gemara. V'lo b'Hilchos Rav and Rabbi Yitzchak, and don't learn the Rif, or Zulasa, or anyone else. Rav Nissim going. I didn't say that. Hayodeya aid Hashem who knows will testify. Sheishli kmo shana v'chetzi. For a year and a half in my yeshiva, shelo lomdo etzli chiburi. We didn't touch the Mishnah Torah. Ela shnayim o shlosha anashim landu mixas svarim. Except for 2 or 3 who wanted to learn a little bit of Mishnah Torah. For rova talmidim ratzu lilmod halachos shel harav. They wanted to learn the Rif, because the Rif brings the Gemara, but he cuts out all the extra stuff, so you know what halacha l'maisa is. Velimadi osam kama pamim kol halachos. I taught them all the Rif from beginning to end. That's pretty darn impressive. V'gam shnayim, and 2 talmidim shalu lilmod haGemara. They wanted to learn Gemara. Velimadi osam masechtos asher shalu. And I learned with them. I taught them the masechtos they wanted to learn. He doesn't say which ones. Yevamos, Megillah, we don't know. Also, Alibi, did I ever suggest as Rov Kol Hasvarim Shenasu Lefonai Mipnei Chiburi? Did I ever say they should burn all the Svarim? Because now we have Mishnah Torah, we don't need any of that. No, Chas v'Shalom. So he's saying, I don't know if he's taking a step back, or this is from the edition of Rabbi Yitzchak Shelat, who's a contemporary in Eretz Yisrael, and he writes in the footnotes that the Rambam meant to say, for some Talmidim, he said just learn Mishnah Torah, and for others, he said learn Gemara, learn the Rif. That's also good. So either way, I don't know. But the Balei Tosfos believe Gemara, and that's what we hold. In Hilchos Talmud Torah, the Rambam, quoting the Gemara, says you should spend 1/3 of your time learning Tanakh, 1/3 of your time learning Halacha, and 1/3 of your time learning Gemara, the back and forth. Rabbeinu Tam says, this is the Rambam, based on the Gemara in Kedushin. Rabbeinu Tam, though, says, no. That's only for someone who's very starting out. But once you've already learned through Tanakh, and you learn through Mishnah Berurah, or whatever, You learn through halacha, so then spend all your time in Gemara. Because in Gemara you have psukim, in Gemara you have halachas, and in Gemara you have Gemara. So Rabbeinu Tam holds, you learn Gemara. Only for a young student should you split your time three ways. Because that's our Masorah through the Ashkenazim. Okay, so that was Pardes. Pardes is the extra stuff. Beyond that, the philosophy, that's not really for us. So we have a little time. Let's move forward, especially since Shia requested more. So I'd like to talk about the next step, which is becoming holy. In order to be a Navi, you got to be Kadosh. You got to be holy. The question is, what does that mean? How do you become holy? And I think it all revolves around the comma in here, in this halacha. There's an English translation I mentioned to you last time, yeah? Go ahead, Shlomo.
It wasn't after producing Lamdana. Because our derech simply would say that if we don't have the Gemara skills, we don't have the ability to draw conclusions, it's not different than some guy coming out of yeshiva just learning Mishnah Berurah.
I think it's clear that the Rambam did not want to produce Lamdanim. He did, in that letter to Rabbi Yosef, he says, don't bother with the lumdus, with all the backs and forths, just bother with the conclusion.
Back and forth, they could not have been placed in the narrative.
Yeah.
All they knew was the rib, they could not have been placed. Because you can't possibly find everything in the rib.
That's how they trained Rabbanim, to learn halacha l'maisa. I remember when...
Even not everything's in the Mishnah Berurah. Then the Mishnah Berurah would be considered like the rib, so...
You only have to understand the opinion that's the conclusion. I remember when Rabbi Yosef came to America in 1991, he spoke in my yeshiva, and he got up in front of everyone. He gave a long shir klali about the Ethiopians. Are they Jewish? Are they not Jewish? His maskana was they are. They don't have to convert. But he also gave a whole mussar shmooze about stop learning your lumdus, just learn halacha l'maisa.
It's very against it.
Yeah.
He believed in just learning Gemara and Rock and Rush.
And Shulchan Aruch.
Still learning the Gemara.
Okay. The Rif is learning the Gemara, but only the Gemara does halacha l'maisa, at least in those days.
But you still don't even see the back and forth. You don't see the other opinion. It's just one opinion that limits you excessively.
I said, so you're an Ashkenazi. I don't blame you. I'm one also.
You knew every single iPhone.
I'm with you on that. But that's not the derech. I know people who learn that derech. They learn through Masechtas very, very quickly. The yeshivas in Eretz Israel, where they go through a Masechta every few months, and they just learn the maskana, and that's what they really remember. They only remember the conclusion. Different strokes for different folks. So the next part of the Rambam, and we're gonna go quickly over a lot of words. And you should stretch yourself, or you should learn and study all these great and difficult and distant ideas. Lo das nechona lahavin ulahasig, and you should get your accurate way to understand and to comprehend all these holy matters, what goes on in the heavenly spheres. Vehu miskadesh, and he becomes holy. Veholech uporish midarke klal ha'am, and he advances and he stays away from the regular folk. Ha'holchim b'machshache hazman, who spend their time dealing with narishkeit. Veholech, and that's not a Navi. A Navi should get away from the people who talk about the sports and the politics, and I'm as guilty as everybody else. I'm not a Navi. Veholech u'mizarez asmo, and he goes and he strengthens himself. U'melamed nafsho shalotielo machshava klal, and he listen to this discipline that he trains himself so he doesn't have a single thought be'echad midvar betelim on anything that's not Toradic. Not a single thought. That's how you become a Navi. So let's take a step back. We said three things here. Learn all these Heilige ideas, become holy, and then stay away from any thought that's not Torah, that's not holy. So how do you become holy? So according to the English translation, which I mentioned last time by Rabbi Eliyahu Tuger, so he says, V'humis Kadesh refers to the previous part. You should learn all this Kabbalah, all this philosophy, and all these holy things, and that makes you holy. And then you should separate from anything that's not holy. So he says, Kadosh, V'humis Kadesh, refers to the previous part, about doing this extra thing, learning more. I think maybe that's not the right way to punctuate the Rambam for the following reason. I've quoted this before, but I love this Ramban in Parshas Kisisa. kisisa. What do you give to the Mishkan? Machasisa shekel, the shekel hakodesh. Why is a shekel called kodesh? That sounds like an American thing, holy money, right? Because to us, capitalism is religion. Why would the Torah call shekel kodesh? So the Ramban quotes the Rambam in Mar Nevuchim, who says, why is Hebrew called Lashon HaKodesh? Because it doesn't have any bad words in it. I ask an Israeli, they know plenty of bad words. So the Rambam says, he was aware of that. He says the bad words are all borrowed from other languages. But Hebrew, the pure Hebrew, has no bad words, and therefore it's Kadosh, because it lacks any impurities. And implied, the Ramban doesn't say this, but implied is that the Rambam would say, why is it called Shekel HaKodesh? Because it's pure gold. It's pure metal with no impurities, and therefore it's Kodesh because it doesn't have anything impure in it. The Ramban says no, he disagrees. He says, no, Hebrew does have bad words, and don't say they're borrowed. He doesn't believe that linguistic history of Hebrew. He says it does have bad words in it, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Hebrew is Lashon HaKodesh because it was used to create the world. It was the word, it's Nevuah comes in Hebrew. We daven in Hebrew. We do holy things with Hebrew, and in that way we make it holy. And there's a beautiful thought there, that we can make something holy by treating it, by using it for proper ways. Something language could be used for Lashon Hara, it could be used for cursing people out and saying all sorts of bad things, but it could also be used for Kedusha. And that makes it Kadosh. If we use it for the right way, that makes it Kadosh. That's the Ramban. So I heard from Reb Shimon Rum, who was an Altamira, who was Rebbe in YU. He said like this. He tied this to the beginning of Parshas Kedoshim. Kedoshim to you. So Rashi says, what does that mean? Prushim min harayos. Stay away from the Isurim, which come right after, about Lo Segala Erva Sis and Lo Segala Erva Sat. Stay away from all the Arayos, and you'll be holy. And look, we all know that's not easier said than done. In our community, it's just tough. It's a natural human desire, and you have to fight it. And when you overcome that Yetzer Hara, that is how you become holy, by not doing those Averas. That's Rashi. Ramban says, no, that's following the halacha. That's called following the halacha. Nothing special. You don't become kodesh just by following the halacha. You have to do extra. You have to be zahir, and even in something that is mutter for you, you should make yourself extra gedarim, extra fences, and don't do stuff that's even mutter. According to the Ramban, the way to become holy is to go the extra, to go extra, put an effort. You have to create holiness. According to Rashi, as long as there's nothing bad, there are no arayos, there's no isurim, you don't violate any lavin, that is holy. And Kadesh Atzmecha B'Matoch. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Yes. So Ram said that the Ramban is a shitasa, where he said that you make language kadosh, you make money kadosh by using it for kedusha, by doing something extra with it. So too we make ourselves kadosh by doing extra on things that are otherwise mutter. The Rambam and Rashi don't seem to go together. That the way to create kedusha is just don't do anything bad, don't mess it up. Things are inherently holy. Hashem created us. Hashem created everything in the world, and everything is holy unless we mess it up. And unfortunately, the history of humankind is we mess a lot up. But that's how we can create Kedusha, by stopping ourselves and others from messing up this beautiful world that Hashem created. So what did the Rambam say in our halacha? The Rambam said, learn all these holy things and become holy, and stay away from any bad thoughts. So if it was a Ramban, I'd hear you that if you learn Kabbalah, you learn philosophy, that's how you make yourself holy. You go extra. But this is the Rambam. The Rambam said you're holy just by not doing bad things. So I think the Rambam is saying, V'humis Kadesh, how? By avoiding anything that is not holy. Avoiding anything that are Dvarim B'Telim. Avoiding all the things that we all waste our time on, and we really shouldn't. Maybe we do it because in order to refresh ourselves and refresh our batteries, and that's okay. But the way to become holy, says the Rambam, is to avoid anything that is a waste of time. And I think that, therefore, we should put the comma before V'humis Kadesh, and should be V'humis Kadesh, and it becomes holy. How? V'holech u'porish midarchei klal ha'am. By getting away from the rest of us who aren't so holy, because we don't spend all our times learning and davening. And my grandmother used to say, Shachal zecha gas tug. You daven all day, you learn all day. That's how you become holy, according to the Rambam. He doesn't say shekel kodesh, but I think he means because normally gold has impurities in it. But a shekel kodesh had no purity; it was just pure metal without anything else. And I think that's what made it holy: the lack of impurities. Thank you, everybody, and Mitzvah Shem till next week.